Hey guys, Mike here. So today, I'm here to talk to you about 1988's Who Framed Roger Rabbit, starring Bob Hoskins as Detective Eddie Valiant. In Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a toon-hating detective is a cartoon rabbit's only hope to prove his innocence when he's accused of murder. And so we have Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So guys, today's review was requested by no one. This is one I just wanted to watch because I haven't watched it in so long. It's an amazing movie. And actually, this does fit in with my whole Halloween horror movie theme because this, in fact, is the scariest movie I've ever seen in my entire life. But I'll get into that a little later on in the review. So, let's get started with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Now, I can't remember the first time that I watched this movie. I was probably like anywhere between the age of like 5 or 10 when I first saw this film. But I remember first watching this movie thinking that it was absolutely incredible. And I haven't seen this film in like 10 or 15 years, so I was still hoping that it would actually still hold up today. And I can tell you that it definitely does. If anything, I'm more of a fan of this film watching it now as I'm older. Because there are a lot of jokes that went over my head when I was a kid. The story's amazing. I can appreciate all the technical excellence from this film. And this is just an insanely hilarious film. Whether it be from over-the-top cartoonish slapstick or just silly one-liners, this movie has a wide range of comedy to please everyone. But as well, it also respects the seriousness of the film as well. Because forgetting a sec about the actual cartooniness of this film, this has a genuinely interesting mystery which is still kind of relevant today. The things that happen within this film still happen to this day, and Bob Hoskins in this movie is just incredible. Though on the surface he may just like a begrudged ex-detective, there's just so much more to this character, and you get to explore that throughout the film, whether it be through spoken dialogue or just little Easter eggs that you have to really look and search for. Quite a fair bit of it comes from an earlier scene within the film. It starts off at Eddie's desk, then moves over to his brother's desk, and then it pans over to a lot of photos from different points in their lives. And it showed that no matter how serious the circumstance, they always managed to bring a lot of lightheartedness and humour. And in this 30 to 40 second long scene, you find out so much about his character and why losing his brother was so devastating for him. And watching this film, I did remember most of the things that do happen in this film, but there were kind of a couple of things that were missing from my memory, like how do they get from point A to B, what was the actual catalyst for him actually getting interested in the case. And watching it again, this is just a well-paced, brilliantly laid out story. But honestly, if you're not interested in the story, or you don't find this movie funny at all, which is just insane because it's absolutely hilarious, you cannot deny what a technical masterpiece this film is. Because to my knowledge, this wasn't the first movie to incorporate live action characters with hand-drawn animated characters, but it was the first one to actually make them feel like they were living in the world. And the brilliant ways in which they did this was, first of all, having dynamic camera movements. Because in these older movies where real people would be interacting with animated characters, the camera would be very static, so the animators could easily draw in these characters. However, in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the camera actually moves around the set, it actually moves around the characters. So it makes these two-dimensional characters feel very three-dimensional, whilst at the same time making them still look like 2D animated characters. But not only that, they also make these animated characters interact with real physical items. Whether it be chairs, trays, or guns, it's just seamless how they make these animated characters interact with these real things. And there are just so many ways in which they do it. Like towards the start of the film, there's this scene in a club where there's a bunch of animated penguins carrying around real trays. And the way they did this was that they built a stage that was elevated off the ground, and they had people underneath that stage holding metal poles that would hold the trays and move them along, so the animators could actually draw over that, making you think that animated penguins are actually carrying real trays. In a later scene, they have an animated weasel actually move a chair and carry a real gun. And again, it was just more puppeteering that created that. Honestly, it's nothing short of genius the way this film was made. But then as well, getting to the reason why I say this is the scariest movie that I've ever seen in my life. Now, normally, I can watch a horror film, no problem. Sure, there are a couple of jump scares which do genuinely get you, but no horror movie has made me lie awake at night or made me not want to watch something because it was too scary. Except for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Now, I'm not saying it's a horror movie, but this one scene was something straight out of a horror movie. Now, this is a bit of a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear it, just, click off or something. But basically, towards the end of the movie, you find out that the villain, the obvious villain, turns out to be a toon the whole time. And if it wasn't bad enough that he's completely flat, walking around, wobbling about, he inflates himself and then he has cartoonish eyes over a real person. And then as he's speaking, he's getting closer to the camera, and then his voice gets even higher and his eyes are getting even more erratic to the point where they just turn into knives. And just before that, he's getting squeakier and squeakier and screaming. And honestly, when I watched this film for the first time, it absolutely petrified me. So for that reason, I would say Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the scariest movie I've ever seen in my life. Overall, guys, it cannot be understated what an amazing film Who Framed Roger Rabbit is. The performances are really good, it's insanely funny, it manages to mix so many different genres, it can be silly and lighthearted but also manage serious and interesting subject matters as well. And it's just super, super enjoyable. But do I think you guys should watch this one? Absolutely. If you haven't seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit, then I would highly recommend you should check it out. I remembered loving this film when the first time I saw it, and seeing it again now just makes me love this film even more. And if you haven't seen it, then you absolutely need to check this film out. Okay guys, that's my review of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Do you love it? Do you hate it? What do you think I should watch next? Whatever it is, drop it in the comments below. Until next time, I've been Michael. See ya!